Welcome everyone to the Gentleman Geek, where we philosophize all things geek while talking in a gentlemanly way, in a gentlemanly manner, while also drinking a gentleman drink. I'm your host Malcolm Trotter, and this is Zach Garcia. We're going to jump right into things and get started. So today we are. How you been, Zach? First of all,
good, man. It's been about a week or so, right?
Yeah,
a lot's happened in a week, so I'm good, man.
Yeah,
good.
Definitely. I feel the same way. Like we lost some crazy last week. I was doing a lot of stuff with the run rally. You were doing a lot of stuff, and so we're getting back into the swing of things.
Yeah. Good, man. I'm ready to do this.
Let's do it.
Let's go. So, what are you drinking today?
Today we're drinking the Maker's Mark. Pretty standard. I'm sure a lot of you have had Makers. It's not super fancy. It's a bourbon. I've always liked the Makers because I think it has a nice subtle. It's sweet but not too sweet, and I've always just loved the style of the bottle. What do you think?
I mean, it's a solid go-to. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't be disappointed in anyone for picking Makers.
Right?
I feel like it's a solid choice.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call it safe, but it is.
Yeah.
In some regards. This has got like that classic wax poured over top to like pay homage to the way it was made years and years ago. But I like it. It's real smooth.
I looked into that a little bit, and I like that their model is wheat, water, wood, and wax, because that's kind of essentially the four elements of the Maker's Mark, and the wax is like the subtle finish. From that, I think one of the distiller, the person who created it, his wife, Margie, is the one who came up with because she was a big fan of what I'm trying to say is like Cavassier. It's a French liquor. The way those liquors were typically finished, and back then the way they were sealed were with wax. It was the only way they could seal them. So they decided to seal Makers in the same way. And I think it makes it a really attractive bottle.
Yeah, I like that they stuck with it too. I mean, you have the screw-off cap now, of course, and everything, right? But it's nice that they maintain that. But
and I just screwed it off to pour, but when you screw it, you actually tear that wax.
You do, yeah.
So
it's still part of the aesthetic experience
nice.
And all of that. I definitely, I think that's awesome that the maker behind I don't know what the gentleman's name is.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
But his wife, the fact that his wife was the one doing the marketing for that, sort of the merchandising for it, I think that's brilliant. I mean, and that's the attention to detail in that is what I appreciate. And
I'm the same. Attention to detail is always important.
And I love that. And the S4, I guess is Roman numerals 4. That relates to the 4 generations of makers, right? But it was actually, I think, the gentleman who, founded Maker's Mark thought that he was the 4th generation, but he was actually the 6th. It turns out, like going back in time, but that just sort of going back to what he believed in his lineage and all that. So that's why they maintain that little crest right there in the front of the bottle, which I think is cool.
That's pretty cool.
But I appreciate brands that embrace originality for sure.
Same here.
So
with that, let's try it.
Let's get into it, man. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to you at home if you've also gotten accustomed to having a drink with us when you watch the Gentleman Geek. So cheers to you guys. What do you think? Thoughts?
I mean, I love this kind of drink. I'm accustomed to it. I'm no stranger to Makers. It's warm. It is smooth. It's vanilla. It's got not vanilla as in plain or boring. It's got that vanilla flavor, right?
That vanilla and that caramel. Constantly.
I like it. It's real smooth. It's like buttery.
With a little bit, buttery. A little bit of flavor from the wood. You can taste the wood in it, but not in a very negative. Not in a some woody liquors can be very harsh with that aftertaste. And I'm excited to see what it does once we open it up with a little bit of water. Interesting enough, when I was looking on their website and reading a little bit about them, they age the wood that they put the barrels in, and this is actually one of the few. I guess I'd have to compare, but what they say is they're one of the few bourbon companies that in America that don't mass produce. So it's all small batch made. Actually, a lot of companies are going towards small batch because it's harder to find. They can't mass produce like they used to. Well, that's more so with Scotch, but I think that's interesting, and the way they age the wood, they make sure the wood is aged through a full 4 seasons. Make sure it's still summer or winter or spring. It's pretty awesome, and so that helps. They said takes the negative bite of the tannins that can be in the liquor off. So
it's all science, man.
It's all science.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing. So I'm gonna throw a little water in mine.
I've honestly never had makers with like a little bit of water in there. I know that's the gentlemanly way to do it.
Way to do it.
So I'm excited to see how that kind of changes the flavor profile of that. But now, is there a certain amount of time that, I mean, it just is immediate effect?
The moment the water hits the liquor, I even see people let the water drop and then swirl it like you like letting the water. The minute the water hits it, opens it up. So there's actually an article, a buddy of mine, actually shout out to Charles at Work at Sage Publishing. He found an article for me and sent me because he knows I like bourbons and whiskeys and scotches, and they were talking about why. The scientific reason, and I'm gonna try to explain this in layman's terms because I'm no scientist.
Please, I'm a layman though, right?
Basically, they were just saying that there is a chemical reaction because it is water. It's been aged for so long; it's kind of bottled up. It's almost like it's like I'm trying to think of like an analogy, but think of it as like very old, kind of stuffy water, and then the fresh water kind of brings it back to life. So the minute the water hits it, I think they said all the alcohol particles at the bottom rush to the top, leaving the flavor right under the surface, opening up leaving all those flavored particles. I don't know if that's a scientific term.
Let's go with
but
that.
when you drink it, you can now taste. Strangely, when they said that the alcohol rushes to the top, I would think it would taste more alcoholic, more acidic, but it's the actual opposite. Your tongue gets more of the flavor. Maybe because the alcohol rolls over the top. I'm not sure.
Now,
but it's pretty cool.
Is it? So they have, the whiskey stones, and of course you can mold your ice into like a sphere, right? Is it the same effect as if you pour it over a ball of ice? Do you get the same like opening up effect?
That's a good question. So what I've found, some people really like. At the end of the day, what I like about when it comes to you can be a snob.
Right.
Like suddenly they say you have to drink wine, but at the end of the day, most people recognize is you drink what you drink, how you like it, right? And so if you like your stuff on ice, drink it on ice. But I will say from more of a standard of ice typically detracts from the flavor. And too much ice can definitely water the drink down, and then all you get is a water taste with a lot of alcohol. So you're tasting the alcohol with the water. That's why sometimes with this stuff, the minute you throw ice in it, you're like, ooh, it's just, how could you drink that way? Most people think by making it cold, they're going to make it taste better. But usually you may make it smoother in terms of you make it taste like water.
Right.
But you lose all the components of what makes this complex.
So that's the thing. If you're trying to take away some sort of edge or bite to a drink, and you put ice in it, it
might get harsher.
It might get harsher, but the opposite might be true too. You might make it so cold that you are like sort of numbing down like your taste buds, and then suddenly you've lost the essence of the drink, and it's like, why are you even drinking, a nice whiskey or a bourbon or whatever at that point? So I mean,
it tastes like candy now, bro.
Well,
it's like you get all of the flavor at the top. It's suddenly like all that caramel hit like way harder this time around. I don't know. That's what I felt.
No,
I could be completely wrong.
Maybe it's a placebo effect right now. I agree, but I agree.
And so that's good. It's kind of interesting. Also, whiskey stones can be good. A lot of people think they're kind of an expensive kind of trope, but they work like a niche. But the whiskey stones typically, the reason you want those stones is because they don't, unlike ice, they don't water it down.
Right.
But they also, I find, is that the minute they hit the glass, they don't make it ice cold, and then they might freshen up a little bit, but then they immediately get warm. I think there's more.
Right.
I don't know. So I try them sometimes.
That's physics.
I'm hit or miss with them.
That's physics. It'll pull the warmth into the stone, and there'll be like a transfer of energy, and then I'm getting like way too far and down the science route. But then it'll just kind of settle at like an intermediate temperature between the drink and the stone, and then you just have a rock sitting in your drink.
Pretty much just kind of clanking around. It looks cool. So I mean, with that, as we drink these, let's get into today's. Okay, so this is old news to everybody, but seeing as the last episode, we ended our last episode with it, we gotta address it.
Yeah.
Is the Mayweather-McGregor fight? We all know how it ended. We all know how that turned out.
And you know our thoughts.
How it was gonna turn out.
Yeah, you know our thoughts before it happened too, which is great because you can rip on me for whatever I said.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is hindsight's 20/20. So any speculation or any I guess, recap of what's already happened at this point. I mean, it's all hindsight information. It's like you can at the end of the day try to justify one thing or another, but we all saw the same fight. Depending on how we looked at it, we know who won.
So do you think that, here's the thing, a small part of me wanted McGregor to win at the fight party that I was at. I definitely wanted an interesting fight. That's the way I'm. No matter who I like, really, I'm not a huge Mayweather fan, but I know the guy's a master fighter. And
absolutely.
So from that standpoint, I literally I felt like McGregor was going there with his hands tied behind his back, being the type of fighter he is. But I commend him for the way he fought. But what I didn't like is the way all the people who were in the McGregor camp, just switched up so quickly. And I just wonder if, because there's so much hate from Mayweather, was that the reason people made so many excuses for why they thought this man was going to win?
McGregor was going to win? So you think that they softened... I feel like the McGregor fans, and I'm not counting myself out of that in a sense, but I think that they softened their speech a little bit after the results came through and they saw the end of the fight. They were like defending him a little bit.
Right.
Saying, well, which, look, here, at the end of the day, both great competitors, really good sports. I think that the way that McGregor handled himself after the fight was very honorable.
Mayweather as well.
Mayweather,
gave him a lot of props.
No, I don't. But what I'm saying is that
they were very gentlemanly about it.
No, I agree. And so
they were gentlemen about it.
Right, but what I'm saying to the McGregor fans is like, I understand that now it's like, well, he fought well. I don't think we should compare like apples to apples either fighter because McGregor would say that Mayweather isn't a fighter, he's a boxer, which whatever, take that as you want, but I think at the end of the day it was what the fans wanted to see. Mayweather's just a top class like businessman and a great marketer. So is McGregor at the end of the day. Biggest pay-per-view buys out of all boxing matches, which is pretty spectacular when you think about it, and not even thinking about I don't remember if it was in the hundreds of thousands, but there were tons of illegal streamings and stuff that went on too. So it's like the fight's bigger than we even can calculate it to be, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't think anyone, whether you're a McGregor fan or Mayweather fan, was disappointed about not just the outcome, but just the way that the fight kind of transitioned throughout.
Yeah, it wasn't a boring fight.
Round 1 to 10. Yeah, I mean, it was not a boring fight. And so if we kind of jump back to our last conversation about, speculating about the fight, I mean, sure, Mayweather's hand's probably a little bit sore, but he didn't injure his hand at all, right? In the fight, which that was something that I pointed out, like, as a possibility of something that could happen, which in reality, anything's a possibility, right? But I chalked that up to being like sort of a more high-risk situation for Mayweather, but in the end, he picked his shots very wisely, and I mean, he was just masterful in the way that he came through in like rounds 8 to 10. He got some clean shots, and at that point, when round 8 kind of hit, and then we moved into 9, like I knew that was Mayweather's fight.
Did they stop it too early?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think props go to the ref that just officiated the whole thing. I mean, I think we should give him credit, and I don't think he stopped it. I mean, let's be real. Like even as a McGregor fan, like he would have been fucked up.
So there's my thoughts is from a fan's perspective of boxing and wanting to see it go. Yes, it's like a WWE thing. They didn't stop it too early because I wanted to see more carnage. I wanted to see, you want to see, in a boxing match, you want to see the man hit the floor, hit the mat, because hitting the mat, for us, as long as we've been watching boxing, signifies he's out. But the more we started to watch, with the new, I guess, developments in concussion, research and stuff like that, we now realize people are dead on their feet. a lot of time before they even go down. Even our old boxers, a lot of times we would wait for them. We would watch. You go back and you watch old boxing. They would wait for that guy to go down. There was plenty of moments where you realize he's not there, and you just literally his brain is taking a pummel. So. Yeah, from part of me wanted them to let it go a little bit longer, but it was definitely going to go down, and it wasn't going to be good. And McGregor has, unlike Mayweather, has more of a future ahead of himself, so it's better that they stop the fight there, so that he reduces his damage and he can go off to fight someone else.
Right,
or something
like
better.
live to fight another day. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? And it's like, yeah, I agree with the ref's decision to stop it when he did. I think we all saw it heading in that direction, and yeah, part of you does want to see it continue to, because there's always that, I think there's like a question in your mind, or that like little bit of reasonable doubt where you're just like, could there have been some shift and, you know, or some turn of events? Probably not, but or how would it have actually gone down? Would, you know, he had been KO'd?
I remember people talking about
like,
this stuff about
back, but
Mayweather turning his back to him when they would get close.
Strategic.
But I felt it was all strategic too.
Strategic. He knew what he was doing. He knew that the ref was gonna pull them apart.
Okay.
I think he was just. I think it was more of like McGregor was pulling. McGregor was pulling an angle on him that he was, you know, like we saw the hammer fist come down a little bit, right? Which whatever. I think the ref was good at like sort of letting both sides
kind
of skirt the
They have to.
And so that was super fair by the ref. So that was fine. Mayweather wasn't injured, really seriously injured by any of those little hits on the top of the head. And I just think that McGregor had a tendency to like come up on the side of him and come up behind him, and Mayweather knew that, and so he would kind of like get in there.
Because
he
knew the ref would have to like break him up.
Break him up.
Be a fight. It's either he's going to get points legally deducted by doing some stuff, or he would just close up. A lot of people thought that was actually Mayweather showing signs of weakness, like, oh, he had him. No, I never thought he had him like that, but. You know, it is what it is. It was a good fight. So, yeah, I don't think we have too many disagreements there, surprisingly.
I don't think so. I know, you're really disappointed about that. But look, I think at the end of the day, I mean, like I said, it was a fight that we all, you know, signed up for and we wanted to see, whether you're McGregor or Mayweather fan. I don't think we'll see as quite of a spectacle in our lifetime. I think for Mayweather, like, what a better way to kind of resurrect your, you know, boxing career for and with to fight McGregor. Yeah. Just for the fans and for the love of it. And hey, man, he's coming away
with that money wisely.
With a lot more money.
Taxes.
And that's don't remember to pay your taxes. That's just like a quick reminder to everyone. I don't care how much money you make, and you think you can, you know, get away with that shit. Doesn't matter, man. They'll come back at you. But then for McGregor, it's like people are wondering whether he's going to come back to boxing. I don't think it's wise for him to do that. I don't think he will do that. I think personally, how much better can you get fighting a world champion? And it's like, what would you even do after this? At this point, you know, it's like, who are you going to fight after this in boxing? There's nothing higher than that. So respect goes to McGregor for putting himself out there, taking risks.
It's a win-win for both.
Which I respect. I think, it was a win-win. Great for both of their careers. I don't think it hurts either one of them. I think it just helps boost them and their visibility, and hopefully, it's good for the sport of boxing as it is for the sport of like MMA. Great. And you know, hopefully there's some cross pollination.
Mayweather definitely held his own. He showed that like he's got some there was some boxing ability, and like I said, the stamina is completely different in MMA. So I can't even knock him for. You know, I'm sure he tried to train for more stamina, but if you've been training for a certain type of stamina your entire life, it doesn't switch up in a few months to try to get ready for that for 12 rounds. But it was good, and I enjoyed the fight. And I probably was one of the few people in the room secretly, not openly a few times. I wanted, you know, I at least wanted like Mayweather to take a knee at some point. But I did go into it knowing it was going to be next to impossible. It was like you know, in the regard of just like, because boxing, especially like that, a lot of people don't even give consideration to, and then we should probably end it on here, but just consideration to the way boxing works. A square ring makes a world of a difference. McGregor's normally used to fighting in an octagon, and a lot of people will tell you boxing's a chess game. every time you work a person to a corner, or you're constantly controlling those 4 corners versus controlling that octagon circle type space. So that's why you see those fights work completely differently in octagon. A guy can be against the cage and completely rework that situation. So I don't know, I felt like there was a lot of things against him, and for that note, and he also couldn't do his his normal style fighting, so I can't knock at that. But he also he knew what he signed up for. So I'm not gonna. I don't. He signed up to box, and he showed up to box. So that was good, and it was an excellent fight. So
yeah, good stuff, man. I think at the end of the day, we're both happy. I think everyone's pretty happy about that. So
with that, well, we'll say we had that fight last week, which was an amazing fight on Saturday, and then we had. Not quite as much of a fight, but a battle is brewing on Game of Thrones, which I know you don't watch. But I gotta bring this up for all my other geeks who watch Game of Thrones, who are just fantasy geeks. And season finale. I know, like our boy here doesn't watch it, so give him crap.
Please tell me what I'm missing out on, and how many hours do I have to? Each episode is like how much of my life? An hour and.
If you were a fan, we would probably sit here and talk about how the writing has definitely changed in the season. How the season ended. A lot of people argue that it's garbage because of Martin, the author of the original books.
Right.
He has not finished the books, and so with this season, it definitely felt like this is not.
Kind of off the cuff.
This is off the cuff. Like this is them now reaching for. Imagine if I was writing a story for a few years and everything you guys have been doing is I've been like your consultant, and then I'm like when you're like when you come to consult me, I'm like, well, I don't have an ending yet. I don't really know where it's going yet. And you're like, oh, well, we'll be all right. We'll make it up. And all the makeup stuff is just basically giving the fans what they want. But this season felt more like Game of Thrones porn than it felt like. It's like. It's like when I say that, I feel like when we call car porn, we see a shiny car, and there's no story behind the video in the car. It's car porn, or it's a cool photograph with no story. The story is there because Martin set it up, but this felt more like gratuitous of what we've been wanting to see. We saw a lot. We saw the dragons we saw what the dragons could do in several episodes. What they could do to both humans, what they could do to White Walkers, which are these undead, basically zombies of the ice, and we got to see reveal that Jon Snow character is actually strong. Listen, I've been kind of also on this thing Jon's been everybody's been bending the knee to Khaleesi. I know everybody loves Khaleesi, but dude, I'm not even gonna go into what I think about her, but it was nice to see that Jon still has some power to play, some power struggle in this fight, and he ends up being the father of dragons. They're both from the same family. There's a lot of incest going on in this story, but I mean, back in those days, I'm sure that's what it was like.
That's what
they're
into
some stuff. So that was Game of Thrones. It was awesome. The ending was great. I loved the composer. I can't think of his name. Rush. I'm not even gonna try to butcher his name. His composing is fantastic. The Dragon score, and over the seasons I've been listening to his score build. The music, the themes of the characters are fantastic. When dragons show up, fantastic. Khaleesi sound, fantastic. The White Walkers, the way they ended it, this at the end, and the dead dragon showing up to take down the wall. Good stuff. So, like I said, Game of Thrones porn in a way, not as complex, not as much political intrigue anymore. Just kind of, and the way people warp around the worlds right now is kind of ridiculous. Like people just travel times have just gone to all the shit. But I'm still enjoying it. I'm really bummed that I gotta wait till 2019 to get another episode of Game of Thrones.
How far into 2019?
And I'll just be playing, good old Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder.
29. That's a
long time. It's a long time. So. Yeah, man. So that I don't know if you don't want to say about that, we'll move on. Yeah. What has been new, man? I don't know.
I mean, lots happened in the last week or so. I mean, so I don't think we mentioned this to the fans yet, but Malcolm and I have worked together in a professional setting. For a while now. I don't know if it's been 2 years or about 2 years.
About 2 years, yeah.
But
it's probably maybe a year that I actually really we were having strong conversations, because before that I always see you passing in the office. People are like, oh, that's Zach.
We didn't really know each other. Yeah,
shit,
I've been at this company for about 6 years.
Yeah.
So people knew me, and depending on how long they've been there, they knew more about me or less. So I was sort of like a child or a product of this company for a while. And all was fine and good, and then Malcolm showed up, and I didn't know you in the beginning. I remember seeing your Z in the parking lot. I was like, who's this guy with this car? right now, and I was like, I was intrigued. I was like, I was interested. And so, long story short, I've been with this company for about 6 years. Malcolm and I have, sort of developed a relationship outside of that, working on the Run Rally, and of course, engaging with you guys and putting this out there too. Sort of a new venture project for us. But then in the last week or so, last week was, and this was, I don't know when this is going to air, but it was the last week of August was my last week at this company that I'd sort of grown up in. Very.
Cheers to your going away party.
Thanks.
So
Malcolm was at my going away party, which I appreciate you being there to support me in that. And it was a little bit bittersweet in that I'll miss the people, but long story short, is I felt the urge to take that leap of faith and to just get uncomfortable. And I went to school for business and entrepreneurship, and so I've known for a while that I've wanted to pursue my passions and double down on that, and then just made the decision, just based on how I felt and where I'm at in my life, to just go ahead and do it. There's no guarantee, but as of now, as of today, you guys will probably be watching it in my second week of being self-employed or fun employment, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I'll be on my own, and so lots happened in the past week. It's just I left a company that I was with that provided me security and was that sort of that cush job for me. But I'm excited, man. So it's just taking that leap, getting uncomfortable.
I'm excited for you. It's kind of crazy. I commend you. You're the second buddy of mine who's taking a leap. Shout out to Ozzy at AMU, who's now out there.
That's Automobile Uploads.
Automobile Uploads, yes. And it's an amazing thing. And like I said, just wishing you a lot of luck and Godspeed in that. And one day I think I'll be out there, too. But
you don't think I know.
I know.
You have to manifest that.
Definitely.
Manifest what you want in your life, and put your energy in that direction. That's
what was the moment where you're like, I'm ready? For people who are like thinking about maybe leaving their job and going, they've had a passion, maybe like brewing inside for a long time. How did you finally get? Because you think about it every day probably, but how did you actually go? This is it. I'm going to do this. This is my time. This is my time schedule, and I'm done.
Yeah, I like that question. I think a lot of us, or I would say the majority of us, wait for something to happen, either for that decision to be made for us.
Yep.
Or for some sort of sign,
right?
Or for some sort of big tipping point in order to make that decision. The honest answer to that is, for the longest time, I would say for years, I waited for what I felt was the right time. Mostly stemmed from insecurities about where I was in my own business and how comfortable I felt with going off on my own, how confident I was in myself. But the bottom line is, guys, no matter what, if you're waiting for that right time, and I know it's sort of overused at this point, saying there is no right time, but I will attest to that. There's no right time. I waited for the right time. It never happened until I made it happen, really.
Yeah.
And so I would just say to anyone that's looking to jump off that ledge and sort of dive into what they want to do themselves. Of course, all things considered, there's bills to pay, things come up, medical bills, family, all that stuff comes first, and you have to take care of it. But if you really believe in yourself, you can make it happen. And I think that if you are faced with the decision to stay where you're at and be comfortable, or take that leap, you should take that leap sooner rather than later, because the right time will never come, and the only decisions that you'll regret are the ones that you don't make or take.
I think that's true.
And yeah, man, for me, I would say that there was no silver bullet that hit me, that inspired me to get out of it, but I did go see one of my mentors, sort of from afar, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, who's an entrepreneur, and he's very successful in his own right. Yeah, so I recommended the book to Malcolm, and I mean, I think it was Crush It, right?
Yep,
Crush It. Which is one of his older books. I don't know if they came out 4, 5, 6 years ago, but really, Gary V to me he's on a different level, a different operating level, and he's sort of 150% all the time. Right. Which is not what I'm not necessarily trying to be Gary Vee. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. Yeah, and so for me, to kind of wrap this up, I went to an event that was actually out in LA. It was actually at K-Swiss, the shoe store out there, which I don't know who rocks K-Swiss. If you rock K-Swiss, shoot us a comment, because I've never worn a pair of K-Swiss in my lifetime, but he rocks K-Swiss just because he likes the brand and he's always done it. And I think K-Swiss noticed that, and they're like, can you be like a rep for our brand? You know?
So Gary V rocks a K-Swiss.
So Gary V rocks a K-Swiss. You might see me like next episode or in a future episode being like, check out my new K-Swisses, but just to kind of support. But so they picked him up and they're like, can you do some promos for us? So at their shop in LA, he did like a little meet and greet thing where he like signed or talked to you and whatever, and the line was around both sides of the block. They had like a VIP line, a general admission line. There were like 1,500 plus people, and I went to that with my brother, and I got to after 6 hours of waiting in line from around 6 p.m. to midnight, I finally got up to him, and it was a split decision right then and there. I was like, I'm going to make a verbal commitment to Gary. And I shook his hand. I said, you know what, man, I met you a year ago in Austin, Texas at like a bookstore. And I talked to you about this. I've been an entrepreneur for my entire life. For, as long as I've known I've wanted to be an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur. And that I haven't been profiting off anything. I haven't been really making the moves that I need to make. But I want to get there. And I said, you talked to me about self-awareness and how important that is, and I know where my faults are and I know how to improve. But I'm going to tell you right here and now, I've worked for this company since then, and it's been 6 years running. I'm going to leave this company, and I'm going to go off and do my own thing once and for all, finally, and I'll update you. And he said, update me, please. And he was just like, much respect. We talked a few more words exchanged, shook hands, bro hug, left. And then I was like, okay, well, I just told my idol that I was going to make a shift, and it was just, for me, that wasn't... Held yourself to it, yeah. I held myself to it, and it wasn't a moment that I planned for. It wasn't the moment I was waiting for. It was just that mental commitment, and that verbal commitment at the time, just telling people about it, to hold yourself accountable, that made me kind of get that movement. So yeah, man, that's for me what did it, and I just hope it inspires you guys to do your own thing too. Malcolm, I know you'll get there.
I'm always inspired. There's a lot more moving pieces in what I have going on right now, and I'm not, I know I'm kind of playing. I know when I maybe want to make that move, but right now I'm thankful for the company that I have. It's great people there, but yeah. Run Rally and the events that I do, I eventually want to be my everything. Like I want to. It's okay, and it's okay if that's your thing to like be able to. I think long term, like to be able to retire. I think about retiring at age 60 or laying it down and getting the golden watch from the company and saying thank you and I served and I did my time. That's cool. But then for me, what's cooler for me is like, I want to be able to say I did it for myself.
Right.
Not complete. And what I do for the company now is still for myself. We all have a little bit of, selfishness is a part of like how we move, but it would be so much grander to say that I did it for my vision and not someone else's.
Right.
So that's what I seek. And so with that, we're about 35 minutes into the show, or 30 minutes into the show. This is that time I might start doing this little thing. I like that we're, I want to start ramping it up.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do it.
Let's do it.
Let's cheers to that.
Let's cheers. And
let's finish this glass.
As we drink, are we gonna shoot this right now, or how's this happening?
So this is probably not. We'll have friends out there who would
endorse this.
Yeah, would endorse it, but we're gonna shoot it so that we get the second half to show the most ridiculous we could possibly be.
Bring out that alter ego if you guys
the alter
looked
ego
at that
from
last
episode 2. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Only shot I'm doing this episode. After that,
ooh, that face.
That face, yeah.
That stank face.
And then I'm just gonna give a little just to have something just sit in the glass. Sorry guys, we're not.
I feel mine showing right now too.
We're not luscious. I've actually, since we started the show now, I actually realized I have to drink less any other time during the week. I actually now think about at work. I think about happy hours. Think about how much I drink. Because I realize that every other week I'm doing a Gentleman Geek episode, right? So I make sure I'm also, sometimes like last night on Saturday, I made sure I did not drink any hard liquor because I did not want to, I didn't want to come here to a dehydrated. We both have waters before the show.
Yeah.
Because, you start to realize when you make alcohol a part of a show, you're like, oh, I can't overdo this, So you will see episodes where we will take it easy. So today maybe we're taking it easy a little bit, but we want to ramp it up for you guys because I'm sure people like us a little lit towards the end of the episode.
Just a little bit,
just a
yeah.
little bit.
I can feel it coming on, so.
So yeah, I am going to, so with that, let's jump into this. This is something interesting that, this is now going in like a little bit like full geek. We've been very gentlemanly so far.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think about it? Actually, before I preface that we're going to talk about this, I'd like to talk about Wonder Woman, and I want to talk about kind of like what I thought about it, what you thought about it.
Right.
I feel like this movie's gotten critical acclaim. There's been a lot of like a push behind it. It's coming out on DVD. That's also another reason we're bringing it up. And it's about to be on DVD again. I do want to watch it again. But I had some mixed feelings about it that I want to talk about, and I also think it's been a lot of praise. It's also been really big for, because, it's kind of for women to be, seen in a very positive light, heroic light. Most of our heroes are, guys running around for the most part. So this was a big deal, and so I respect it completely for that. But even just from a moviegoer's standpoint, I had some things I wanted to talk about it. And interestingly enough, the reason I brought it up also is because recently there was an article where James Cameron had some things to say about it. So, and James Cameron is one of my favorite directors too.
Amazing.
Terminator 1, Terminator 2, The Abyss. I wasn't too fan of Avatar, and that's a whole nother conversation.
Really?
Great White Hope coming to save indigenous population. But it was visually stunning. And,
tough subject.
Aliens, fantastic. So with that, like I said, I digress. Let's go back to, what'd you think? What'd you think when you saw the movie?
So I saw this when it was first I think it was the first week it was in theaters. I myself, I just have to preface by saying I'm not a film critic by any means. I go in...
We also like or we don't like movies, and there are reasons why we do.
Exactly, and I've said this before in the last episodes. I go in with like a clean slate. I don't do it on purpose necessarily, but I just don't watch a lot of like TV. I don't, I skip the ads on YouTube, whatever. I don't watch a lot of trailers.
Right.
So I do like going in blind and not knowing what I'm getting myself into. So that being said, I went in with zero expectations, having watched the film. Of course, there is sort of I don't want to say an infallibility because she is fallible in the end with the way that she's very naive about things, right? Mm-hmm. Wonder Woman, and I think that there's a feminist approach to it, but then there's also a sexualization of women that's apparent in the film. I think that's an interesting choice because you're portraying two different types of messages at the same time that are seemingly contradicting to each other. So I think one is for the intrigue of the audience and popular culture, and the other one is to portray a message that empowers not just women but all people, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought the difference between those two things at play, I was looking the whole time at the sort of contrast between those two points throughout the film, and I thought that maybe it was a little bit too much of both. I wanted to see. I didn't want to see a film where.
Where did you find the overly sexualization?
I mean, look at Wonder
Is
Woman.
it what she's wearing? It's not. I mean, I wouldn't say her outfit is overly sexualized. I wouldn't say there was many Michael Bay shots of her. Gratuitous ass shots. There were no gratuitous chest shots.
Did I say over sexualization or sexualization?
Oh, I'm sorry, but just sexual. Well, but isn't we're also in a day and age where women are have we kind of villainize women for using their sexuality. Right. So Wonder Woman is using her sexuality in a positive way. Maybe that's the way it's being. Because even when you're on the island of whatever that island they're from, it's like they're riding around all the women seem very strong. They were pretty. They were gorgeous. It's still reinforced, but Hollywood has to reinforce. I mean, we don't have any men that are pot bellied except for Bruce Willis. That's what's amazing about. That's another conversation. But Bruce Willis in Die Hard is a man's man. He's got he doesn't have a pot belly, but he's like he's a regular guy. Dad bod. He's got his shoes off, his shooter all cut up. That was people will tell you about that was the change in action cinema in the 80s, from the 80s to the 90s, when Bruce Willis came on the scene, because he had a receding hairline. He represented the everyday man, whereas before that it was Sylvester Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and all the big buff Jack Dolph Lundgren, you know, the Expendables. But let's go back to Wonder Woman.
So I think that I agree. What I appreciate about the film is that they did not beautiful women cast,
absolutely,
of course, in this utopia of exclusively women, right?
Right.
And not all of them are as naive as Wonder Woman, right?
They're only naive when she's only naive when she enters our world, which she would be naive about.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But what the point that I'm trying to make is the women that were cast were not all actors or actresses.
Mm-hmm.
Claire was in there. Some were fighters. Some were actual MMA fighters.
Oh.
Some were action sports. People. I think that they casted very well.
Very well. Right.
And I think that they really empowered women in this film. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. I think I appreciated that. So having researched that a little bit and looked into that, I appreciated it.
Okay. I'm waiting for your butt. Where's your butt coming? Is there a butt? If there's no butt.
Yeah, there's always a butt.
But yeah, okay.
There's always a booty.
Because I'm agreeing with everything so far. Yeah, you're right.
No, I think that my butt would be. I don't think it comes from necessarily the sexualization or the. I think that. I mean, it was fun because you get the scene. There's the scene with who's the dude that the main character
what's that dude's name?
I never remember
generic,
that.
Generic white guy, Star Trek guy.
Okay, we'll just go with that. Generic white guy, Star Trek guy.
No, I like that guy. Is it Chris? No, I almost say Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is far and above this guy. Chris Pratt is Guardians of the Galaxy. See, now Makers is starting to catch up.
This is where Makers starting.
God damn it, Makers. But no, what's his face? Yeah, he was a
white guy.
I like that guy.
I do too. I think he played his role very well. I think that
call him Kirk from Star Trek.
Right. Okay.
Captain Kirk.
All right, Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk. I thought it was funny when of course they're in the little the cave or the grotto where he's he makes reference to his manhood, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so that was a sexualization of a man.
Right. Well, you saw them playing with the tropes that typically are in a men's action movie. Yeah. So the man, he was suddenly objectifiable.
Exactly.
Women got to be this is him being objectified.
I
was okay with that.
So I liked it. I was okay with
absolutely.
it. And I was like, that's fair. Let's do it.
Completely fair.
And I thought it was funny. I just think that throughout the film that I don't have any bad feelings about it, but I just think that throughout the film, she was almost too perfect. Especially towards the end. I felt it should have shown, especially 3/4 of the way through the film, that she was not. She came from a utopian so to speak society, She was now in the real world.
Yep.
That she should have shown that, like, wear and tear, that transition, but she didn't. She really didn't. So
I actually agree with you. I think that this movie, where it suffers, is where a lot of, quote, typical action movies suffer, where the character doesn't go through something that allows them to push forward. It's the reason why I like the Batman characters so much. It's the reason why certain characters are so moving. Wonder Woman wasn't as moving for me because, and then at some point we should at least talk about James Cameron's conversation, but I'll just, because since you've talked about the way you saw the movie, I'll talk about my perspective. Please. First of all, from a person who loves film, I love the opening of this film. I thought it was visually stimulating. I felt like I was watching 300 with all these amazing strong chicks. No gratuitous shots. There was no I never had a shot I was like, damn, she's fine. I didn't have any of those shots where there are moments when I watch certain movies I go, whoa. And because I always admit I still have, I'm still a guy. There's still I'm gonna react if I see a shot that makes me think, damn. But there were none of those shots. I really enjoyed the moments of the women and learning about her and her talking to her mother and seeing what happened with Zeus and the moving book that was so cool. But once they transitioned to our world and they went to World War I was like, look, man, this is where DC falters. First of all, this isn't even about Wonder Woman. This is about DC's choice of constantly trying to chase Marvel's coattails. And I felt like from there on out, it was Captain America with Wonder Woman in it. I was watching Captain America 1. Captain America took place in World War II. This took place in World War I. He shows up to save the day. All the troops go, oh my God, look how amazing Captain America is. All the troops go, oh my God, look how amazing Wonder Woman was. That was it. And then it was some fun play on her being, and even some of that naive, like you said, that naivete of her being this cute girl. That kind of played into some of the stereotypes of her because she's from another world. It made sense, but she was being this woman in this world where nothing made sense, and Chris Pratt was still kind of leading
the whole time
her through it, kind of still being her guide.
Yeah,
it's kind of where you're gonna make this strong.
You just said Chris Pratt.
Damn it! I said Chris Pratt again. I'm sorry, Chris Pratt, because I like Chris Pratt. He doesn't look anything like Star Trek guy. First of all, Chris Pratt is jacked, and he's cool Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
Right.
So. Star Trek guy. I don't even like Star Trek.
You can call him Chris Pratt.
I'm not calling him Chris Pratt anymore. Damn it. We're going to figure out what your name is. We're going to put it in the credits. But that guy. So, yeah. So here's where I get into the whole feminist view and how the critical acclaim of how amazing this movie was. This is where it fell short for me. Like you said. Mm-hmm. Towards the end, she fights the God of War. And when the God of War showed up, right? The movie is chock full of these moments. And I even went and found shots of them doing this with Gaudet. And I was happy that Gaudet actually gained a little weight for the movie and looked a little more badass. But there's a lot of slow motion of her just kind of blocking things or doing this and her hair's flowing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, is this one could say is this a fighting movie about this strong female, or is this a Pantene Pro V commercial? Her hair is just whipping in slow motion. And now some people could say, well, men action movies do the same thing. But here's the thing: yes, movies like 300 do the same thing. 300 was almost like a glorification of the male body and how everybody has spray painted abs and they're fighting in slow motion. It was amazing. The movie reminded me of 300 for a long time. But here's where it fell apart. Even in 300, there's a moment where the group starts to suffer. The group starts to die. The group has to fight forward.
Right.
She was pretty the entire time. She was fighting the God of War, and her hair a strand never went loose.
I would have liked that.
She never got bruised. She never, and I haven't even seen the movie yet, but I feel like I almost know Atomic Blonde, I feel like in a strange way, with all politics aside, for me would be the feminist role where here's this beautiful Charlize Theron that we see. Mm-hmm. And Charlize Theron she's a good actress though, so we've seen her do everything.
Yeah. But
to see her get brutalized and kick ass, I'm hoping that's the movie I see for this whole kind of push on women's strength, because as much as and I'll stop so I'm being long-winded. No. As much as it reinforced women's strength, it kind of reinforced this beautification.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
And that's how I felt. And this is what James Cameron said in his article, and everybody was like, what do you have to be butch to be and it was no, because James Cameron referenced the character of how he felt like he had been doing strong female characters for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's true in Terminator 2, Terminator 1, you have Sarah Connor. So you watch Sarah Connor go from a woman who is she's a diner waitress to the leader of the resistance, who pretty much brings her son up to be the leader of the resistance. And people look at Sarah Connor as being butch because she's not the cutest. So a lot of fans and geeks are like, well, does she have to be? Does she have to be so butch? Can't she be pretty? And yeah, you can be pretty, but in a fight with the God of War, it should get bloody.
Yeah.
It should get brutal. I should feel your pain.
I think that would have been more poignant.
Yeah.
I feel like right, some loose strands of hair, some makeup, rubbing off a little bit, right? Like that would have been more true to form. I feel like that would have had a bigger impact
on me, where I'm not still watching Gaudet constantly look really beautiful. That's why I felt like I watched for 2 hours, and I enjoyed it. But I mean, and that's the funny thing is because as a young man, and now an older man now, gentleman, I grew up, I felt like on strong female characters. People talk about, as a boy, as much as like I have my faults of being maybe, I'd say there's times when I think there's times for both men and women to be sexualized. There is a place for it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place for men to be sexualized. There's a place for women to be sexualized. But I grew up on very strong female characters. I grew up in a day, I watched Sigourney Weaver fight the first alien. When she survives in that movie, there's no man in that movie that she's the leader from the beginning. Even though there's a captain, she's constantly the most level-headed person in that entire movie. You go back and watch the first Alien with Ridley Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Sigourney Weaver at that time was a Broadway actress, and with Broadway bringing her first movie on film, she should have walked into that. Everybody if a lot of people in the first Alien movie were really big actor names, and so she had to contend with these personalities. And she had to hold her own both in this Hollywood set and in this fictional world. And I think it's amazing. And people can talk about how gorgeous, I guess. I didn't grow up thinking Sigourney Weaver. I never put her on my gorgeous meter.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment where she does undress at the end of Alien, and she's kind of in the panties and the bra, but it's not super sexy. It's like she doesn't have a lot of, back then, or whatever she had maybe was sexy, but it was really just like, I just saw strength in her. As I was watching it as a kid, and I wanted, when I bought my Alien toys when they came out, I wanted the Sigourney Weaver. She was hard to find. And she was always the leader of my group. So this idea that men have never recognized women as strong, powerful characters is not completely true. And it might be because maybe I'm the anomaly. But no, I was attached to her as a character. And then just as much I was attached to Schwarzenegger and Predator. All you had to do is give me a character that was worth backing. If I could believe in the character, then I don't care what sex they are. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Sarah Connor's the same way. I love Sarah Connor in Terminator. So this isn't a new thing about backing female characters. They just have to be believable. And honestly, Wonder Woman wasn't believable for me.
I agree.
And
I agree.
I lost a lot on the idea behind what they were trying to do with her. And unfortunately, that's where I stand on it. But it was decent. First half of the movie I enjoyed more than the second half. I'd probably give it between a 1 and a 10, 7.
7's good. 6, 7, yeah.
6, 7,
probably.
yeah. So, I don't know, you guys, if you disagree with us, leave us comments. Tell us what I'm missing, if you think, because I've had this argument with several people who were like, Wonder Woman was fantastic. Fan-fucking-tastic. And if you believe that, tell me why. And certain people have to get me to understand why they see it that way.
Yeah, it was a conversation. We want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. So that's that. And with that, I mean, so with Wonder Woman going on, what else is going on? So some we were going to tell that with us talking about alcohol, I think kind of permanent, going back to how much we drink during our episodes. It kind of leads to me and him talk about health a lot, and so I don't know if they know, but you're a vegan.
Yeah, so. I mean, last night. So I feel like I'm undoing
a carby carb man.
He says carb, in that I eat a lot of carbs as a vegan, but I feel like I'm undoing all the detox that I did last night. I went to the vegan street fair in North Hollywood last night.
Okay.
I've been to some food festivals in the past year or so, and they're fun, man. You're surprised at who shows up. You get celebrities, you get Instagram public figures, whatever. It's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's all fanfare, whatever. But then you get good food. What I feel like is a strong suit of these food festivals and all this is that it shows not just the the vegans or whatever, but like everyone, no matter what your food preference is, that food can be good no matter how it's prepared. It's just you have to be creative about it. And so I like breaking the stereotype or the perception that being vegan means eating like leaves all day.
Just
you know,
lettuce all
like
day.
I'll be honest, like I don't eat salad every day, and I don't eat it for every meal for sure.
No.
So that to me is boring. I like to eat tacos. I like to eat burritos. I like to eat Philly cheesesteak. And so I know that the other side. I don't mean to polarize each side because that's what feeds into it.
Fun.
But like,
We'll
I know Malcolm.
Malcolm,
I'm gonna be controversial. So like Malcolm, I know that you would say that like, why would you try to imitate Philly cheesesteak if you eat the real thing?
Yeah. Why would you?
And so, I think that it's one, like Philly cheesesteak sandwiches are delicious. I'm not gonna combat that, right?
Right.
And I think it's fun. I think it's tasty. I think that there's some like history behind it, some culture behind the Philly cheesesteak. I think that yes, as like a vegetarian or vegan, you try to like imitate certain things. Like why would you imitate when you could be the real thing?
Right.
And then you get the whole like ethical side of it, and it's like, okay, if you make it taste as good as it is in its, accepted form, like traditionally accepted, if you can make it taste as good, why wouldn't you choose that option over the other? And I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like saying like you will never be able to completely replicate like the taste of like so prior to being like vegan or vegetarian even, like I did eat meat, so it's like I know what tri-tip tastes like, I know what like steak tastes like.
Right.
There's never going to be anything that tastes exactly like that, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is that okay, you can't replicate it exactly,
right?
But taste wise and being like very fulfilled in terms of like how much nutrients you get into your body, like you can find ways to make it interesting and creative and fun and tasty. Debatable, right?
Okay.
But you tried my Impossible Burger the other week. What did you think about that?
I thought it was pretty tasty. It was a tasty burger.
Okay. So
that is a tasty burger.
Right.
And if you guys out there are geeks, you should know what I'm referencing, what movie and what character.
So I think that
burger.
So the way that I see, like, no matter what, like I'm not trying to push one side or the other. I think that no matter what side you fall on, like you should always try to be creative and inventive, push the envelope, and just make things exciting, right? Which for me, honestly, the reason why I've stayed vegan or vegetarian.
I'm just he just looks at me like I'm just sitting over here like I'm just waiting to just but I'm not. I'm just like
it's your reaction. The reason why I've stayed this way is because of I'm always in pursuit of something different and something innovative and exciting, and I think that the pursuit of of amazing food that's not prepared the way it traditionally is, like a Philly cheesesteak that's vegan or whatever you want to use as an example. I think that it excites me to the point where I'm like, I need to try all the options. And yes, I did research into the ethical side of things, and that definitely plays into how I choose what I eat, but I don't have any hate or opposition to anyone that eats the way that they eat, but I just love the fact that I can find creative ways to make food, and it makes it more exciting to me. Like I could try to recreate what you make with meat to correspond or coincide with what I believe, in a meatless way or whatever, or like a dairy-free way. then I'll do it, and it's like a challenge to me. It's like a game. It's a gamification.
I like that. I like that gamification. I like that challenge. I think the only thing that I question sometimes, if I had to argue against you,
please.
It's not even arguing against you because I think that it's a. Here's the thing. You know that he knows me, and this is something that we haven't talked about on the show, but in the past few months, I've been changing a lot the way I eat. Right, I've been eating less of what I typically enjoy.
Which is what?
Eating. Which is just what everybody else has been accustomed to. Lots of high saturated animal fat, protein, a lot of dairy, cheese, and a lot of carbs.
And how do you feel?
I feel better when I eat the way I do.
Okay.
Here's the thing though. When I eat particularly vegan, I find that a lot of these, I think there's two sides to the art of eating. There's the art of eating, which I think what you've been addressing a lot of.
Right.
And then there's the health side of eating. So as I get more healthy, I can still be extremely creative. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's like the other day I was just randomly like, oh, I have a bag of carrots and I was gonna eat some carrots for lunch. And I was like, I don't want to. I've been eating carrots like this for the past week. Let me try something different. I put them in a bag of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper. I didn't even saute them. I normally saute all my vegetables.
Right.
I just had to. I was about to run out of the door. So I threw the vegetables in a bag, in a little Ziploc bag, poured a bunch of olive oil in there, salted it and peppered it, and I zipped it and shook the bag.
Yeah.
And it was like chips for the rest of the day. Like I was driving around, and every now and then I'd go in my bag.
I appreciate that.
And grab a bag of carrots. So I understand what you're saying. Like I understand. Like we eat way too much meat. Right, I've tried to cut down on eating meat 3 times a day. I know that you don't need to get your protein from meat. I also know that the amount of carbs that I eat is typically what you see on my stomach right now. I've lost about I fluctuated a little bit, 12, 13 pounds in the past few months.
Let me just say this.
That's been from just changing my diet.
Real quick, yeah, I've seen Malcolm over the past few months. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm not trying to get illicit.
I'm just saying that because you guys haven't seen that.
I want to be healthier.
Yeah.
I saw myself. Ozzy was taking pictures of me in a run rally, and one time I saw myself talking to people at the run rally, and I said, I gotta stop. And I stopped drinking a lot. I stopped eating. So people always think it's always alcohol. It's always one thing. It's not any one thing. It's a combination of all the things that you eat on a regular basis. So I've been eating a ton more vegetables, and I still do eat protein. I saw the What the Health movie documentary that makes you just scared. That should scare you not to eat meat anymore. I still do eat my meat. I'm eating a lot more roughage. I'm eating a lot more vegetables. And don't get me wrong, I hate when I see people say, like, when I talk to people at work, the average person says, when I talk about the health of food, they go, well, I've been eating salad. No, fuck salad. Fuck salad. Okay. Salad is not a healthy meal.
No, I agree.
It's fuck salad.
I'm just saying, if you eat iceberg lettuce with random shit thrown in, that's not enough. Iceberg lettuce has no nutrients. No. It's water. You need
mostly
substance.
Roughage. Roughage is okay on the stomach, but it's not it's not as much of the nutrients that you need.
Look, eat kale, eat chard, eat all kinds of shit with like tons of
add the stuff.
Broccoli, veggies, all this shit.
So the amount of condiments, I call them condiments, but the amount of stuff that people would add to that roughage, to that iceberg lettuce to make it worth eating, is the stuff that you need to add in vegetables. So if you are going to eat a salad, I would add chopped up asparagus, I would add carrots, I would add broccoli, and not just one of those, all of them. And if you, that's the way I work. If I can add 6 to 7 different vegetables in a bowl with a little bit of protein, maybe a fist or a fist and a half full, because I do go a little bit overboard.
You don't need it though.
I know I don't need it, but that makes it worth enjoying.
I understand.
And then I'm happy and I'm full. Another thing about, like, if I eat beans and stuff like that, I also, not only am I full, but it's harder to work it. It's harder to work off. Mm-hmm. I found, for the way my body works, and I think my body is hunter-gatherer.
Okay.
So, arguments aside, we'll keep going, and if you want to jump in now.
I do.
Go.
I think that so, just like a fun fact, I think so. I know. I was going to say I think, but I know the majority of Americans consume more protein than they need in their daily diet, right? So it's no surprise that chicken, like lean meats, even like steak or whatever, contains a shit ton of protein, which is great. Like we need protein to survive, right? But it's more than we need. Honestly. And if you've watched What the Health, any documentary, right? Like you know that there's a lot that goes behind the marketing and the I guess the production of meat that goes into our daily diet that we need. We get, the truth is that like beans, spinach, and we could throw up like some facts in the description, have enough, even a little bit more than enough protein. What I'm saying is like, okay, I know. So here's the thing. All right.
So should I stop eating meat because I can get enough protein from those things?
So if you eat a full like bowl of spinach with some like maybe a little bit of quinoa and like some black beans, and you're getting all the nutrients that you need. And I'm talking about you in your current state, right? Would you feel fulfilled? Probably not. Maybe not, right?
Depends on the day. Because there's certain days, because I've been trying to cut back my meat intake. I still like meat, not because I feel like I need protein.
Flavor?
It's not flavor. It's a consistency of the it's a consistency of the way meat strands taste.
Okay. So that's
and nothing I've ever had comes close to it. No tofu, no altered chicken. It's never, like you said, it hasn't come close to that taste. And so yes, I can get my protein elsewhere, but I like the taste of meat. I don't need to eat it as much, nearly.
You said taste.
I think there's a
the
place.
Texture or the taste?
I think it's more texture than taste.
Okay.
Because meat is, let's face it, bland chicken is bland chicken, but it's the texture of chicken is exciting. The texture of beef is exciting, and the texture of fish is exciting.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
So, but you wouldn't put fish in your salad, like what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely, I would.
You would?
I would put ahi in my salad. I'd put anything seared. I would totally. I used to make fish tuna salads, just canned. I would just break open canned tuna, and I know canned tuna is not the best for you. I would dump that in there because I like the way it tastes.
So if you're looking for the texture. Like, the taste is, like, a little bit of a different story. So if you're looking for texture, there's some alternatives that you should take. Have you tried?
How much sodium is in those alternatives?
Have you tried jackfruit?
Carbs in those
have you tried jackfruit?
So here's where my argument is with you, is that you go to these vegan fairs. You go to a fair because you're going to eat. You're going to probably overeat. You're going to drink beer. It's going to be wheat. And it's going to be, it's like having a falafel.
I'm not trying to.
A falafel is a fried ball of carbs and vegetables.
I agree.
But it's still saturated fat.
Okay, I agree.
But fun to eat. Probably dip it in some aioli sauce. And, you know.
Which is not.
Probably got some egg in it. Well, at the vegan place it doesn't. It doesn't. Nothing at the vegan place has any of that stuff.
No. At the end of the day, I understand what you're saying.
Oh.
I'm going to cut you off real quick because I want to be. So I think that. It's not all, like, eating vegan isn't all healthy, right?
No, that was my point.
No,
it's not really being healthy, it's just
like,
being able to enjoy.
Like, last night, here's the thing, like, either way, you're, like, a grilled cheese is a grilled cheese, right?
Yeah.
Like, last night, I ate a inside-out grilled cheese, which is essentially, so vegan cheese is mostly oil, right?
It's mostly oil. You have
or it's like nut-based, or it's nut-based, but, like, I had like
nuts in high concentration. The more nuts,
I get it, all right. But like, it's.
I eat way too many almonds a day, by the way, and I've been trying to curb that.
So if you eat it inside out grilled cheese, like grilled cheese is not part of like your daily like nutritional like yield. Like you don't need a grilled cheese, right? But like if you get an inside out grilled cheese, that's like cheese on top of it was the greasiest thing I ate all night. It was not the healthy thing that I ate. It did nothing for me, like, nutritionally, right? Had, like, oil, like, grilled to vegan bread, which was, like, oil, like cheese, which was, like, made out of concentrated oil, like, in between two slices of bread, right? And you say, but, like, let's look at the other side of it, too, right? Like, grilled between two slices of bread with, like, mushrooms and onions, which is like the more healthy side of it, right? And that's what like I ended my night on was like
if that's what you're looking for, then it's great.
So we all love, but so we love that shit. But like we look at, so it's okay to enjoy those special, like, you know, you want like a cheeseburger, you want something that's like a little bit greasy, or you want something that's a little bit like dirty, you know what I mean, like with like Philly cheesesteak or whatever it is, right? Like, live our lives, like let's have fun with it, right? Like, food is, I believe, like the best gift that we could possibly have, you know what I mean? As humans, I feel like food is our medicine. You don't agree with that?
The best gift we can have as humans? Oh, yeah.
Oh, besides sex, come on.
Yeah. That would be as a male, the gift. Yeah, as a male, the gift is women. But
that's what I said,
human,
sex.
The gift is, it's not even just the sex. For me, the gift to
come
mankind,
on. Don't villainize me.
No, I'm saying as a man, my feeling, and I'm probably going to get villainized for this, the gift as a man in society is the gift of women. Like, they are literally the most amazing thing possible. In my opinion, that's how
I agree. I agree.
Amazing. So here's the thing. The reason I don't say sex is because you don't have, sex is something you have to actually do. You have to actually touch or actually engage in sexual contact with women. I don't even have to engage in any kind of sexual contact with women to realize that she's that amazing.
You're still on the offensive. I'm not trying to say that.
Okay.
All right.
No. You should, come on, man. Keep going.
So. No, I'm not trying to say that women are all sex.
They're not.
But you're polarizing. You're saying
I'm
women.
polarizing them?
No, you're saying women for sex. That's what you're saying right now.
Well, because I'm saying I don't want it to be misconstrued that it's all about sex.
It's not.
Sex is a major part.
It's not.
It's a major attraction, and I don't think they can be removed as much as people think they can. But the fact that they're there, the fact that you find that you're sexually attracted to women as a man.
You are too.
I'm very.
Yes.
I find that even just the normal conversations, even with women that I'm not sexually attracted to, it's like I appreciate them on another level. That I don't even appreciate food on the same level.
Okay.
What I'm arguing is that food is not on the same level.
I understand, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm in the same camp.
Maybe that's my plight. I don't know. Like my lady and like the women in my life are they're the gift that I feel like makes it like wow.
Right.
But food is a close
right.
second.
What I'm trying to say is that let me rein this in a little bit, right? I'm comparing food to sex.
Yes.
Because there's a certain umami experience that you get from food, that you get from sex, all right? And that's not to down
here's what I want.
I love women, right?
When you eat food,
it's a spiritual experience.
Have to create this right. So if you have to create an alternate Philly cheesesteak, here's the thing: if the alternate Philly cheesesteak does the same thing as the normal one does in your body, then it's not worth eating. That's my opinion. If the alternate cheesesteak is actually healthier, if that alternate grilled cheese is full of so much oil and so much saturated fat that it's still going to chip up and course through my veins, then I want the real fucking deal.
Right. So you want the lesser of two evils.
Yes, I want the lesser of two evils. But if I'm going to do an evil, I might want the higher of the two evils if it's more satisfying.
Okay. I see what you're saying. No, I understand what you're saying. I think that. So my short answer to that is no, it's not.
Okay.
You have to look at multiple facets of that. Right. You have to look at the nutritional
and I'm sure it's
aspect of it. Right. Yeah, it might not be,
right? I'm still sure there's a lot of empty calories.
No, there are. Okay. There are. I'm not trying to deny that. Okay. It's a Philly cheesesteak, right? So Philly cheesesteak is a Philly cheesesteak, right? So you have the cheese, you have the meat substitute, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's the nutritional side.
Right.
And there's like, which is the enjoyment, and then there's the highly debated side, which is like the ethical side.
Okay.
Which, anytime I bring that up, it's like, oh. Okay.
I'm not against the ethical side.
Right. So
that's the thing. For the sake of people to eat them.
Right. So it's like if we're looking at the lesser of two evils, I would argue that even if the vegan side, like the vegan take on a Philly cheesesteak, were the same in like caloric intake and like nutritional, yield as the non-vegan side, I would argue to say, okay, that's fine. Let's call it even.
Okay.
Let's look at the ethical side of things. That's where things start to shift. And I don't want to get too far into it. You guys will comment with your opinions. But I think that it's important to look at every single side of it. And I think that on the ethical side, that's where I have strong opinions. And that's where I'm like, okay, if we didn't have to, you know, kill an animal to feed ourselves, or we didn't have to contribute to whatever environmental issue that we're thinking about. I don't need to get into the weeds about it, but if we're trying to debate lesser of two evils, I would pick the vegan side over the non. And all I'm saying is, if you're not vegan, just try it. Just go
kill more plants than more actual animals.
Go. Just the bottom line is like try to explore outside of your comfort zone. If you don't like it, that's fine.
Go to Mommy Burger. They have plug in Mommy. They have a pretty decent double cheeseburger deal stack. That's
Impossible.
Even though I swear the cheese is real.
Impossible.
That Impossible Burger.
I don't know if they have vegan cheese.
Yeah, I think that cheese was just cheese on top of that. I think the patty was it.
So the patty, they have an Impossible
and that
Burger.
cheese is a lot of the like the devil in the sauce.
Have you had? No. Okay. All right. Okay.
And I'm one of the people that believe that we should not be eating dairy as human beings. I know we shouldn't eat it. It's fucking so good though. I don't know. Nobody needs to drink fucking milk.
Right. Okay.
Nobody needs to eat cheese. Right. But look. With a glass of wine, cheese is some of the best.
I agree.
Real cheese.
I'm not. Just saying. No, this is coming from. Yeah. I'm a cheese snob.
I don't need to eat it all the time.
No, I'm a cheese snob. I'm a wine snob.
Yeah.
I think that my favorite cheese, which is not vegan, is like truffle tremor cheese. Like you got that black truffle and that cheese.
It's very destructive to the body.
Right. I acknowledge that. Good. Absolutely. I love like a good like Gouda cheese, like a goat cheese that's like softer that you could spread on crackers with like a little bit of like fig jam or like pear, like a little quince paste, right? Like I love all of that with my wine because I'm very bougie like that, right?
Okay.
Like since I've been like vegan, I haven't had that luxury, and so I challenge anyone that's like vegan to come up with that.
What
right?
does it hurt you? What does it hurt you since you don't eat meat so often to every now and then give yourself that privilege of enjoying that fig jam and that Gouda cheese?
I think it's in principle. It's like taking that. It's not that I'm.
It's not even an animal dying for it.
Well, no, it is. It's not that I'm. It's not that I'm doing a ton of damage or whatever destruction to my body.
Okay.
Because if I eat a slice of cheese right now, I'm not gonna be necessarily in trouble, right? Like I'm not gonna necessarily feel the effects of that slice of cheese. Maybe I won't, but like it's not about that. It's in principle. It's like okay, if I let myself eat an extra slice of cheese, right?
Then maybe I'll eat a slice.
No. Whether or not I decide to eat another slice, it's like okay. I'm allowing myself to be a consumer of that product, which is supporting that business. That's
okay. I understand.
Yeah, so it's not
So your reason is maybe the same reason a lot of people don't drink alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who feel like I've seen it be destructive in my family. I've seen it destroy aunts and uncles with their alcoholism. Now me, I would argue that was they have choices to make.
Right.
But does that make the industry itself evil? And maybe it does. I don't know. I mean, I guess...
it's interesting.
Because when it comes to cheese, you're not saying the animals have to die to create cheese. I'm sure some animals do, but I'm sure we have a livestock that we use just for
with
cheese.
The animals to make cheese, though, too.
I agree.
I think, they don't have to die for it, but they have to go through some like genetic modification for that shit, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Just to people that make cheese back in the day by just milking the goddamn cow.
They milk the cow,
but they milk the goddamn cow, take the milk, and make cheese.
They didn't inject that shit with like hormones and shit to produce more milk.
All right.
All I'm trying to say.
All right.
No, all I'm trying to say is like I
Look,
agree.
the cows are just as genetically fucked up as we are as humans.
Maybe that's your stance on it. I don't know.
Saying.
I think not to go too. I know we have to kind of switch gears here, not to go too far down that road, but.
It's a good conversation, though.
No, it is. It is. We'll continue the conversation for sure. This won't be the end of it, but at the end of the day, I mean, I like to feel good about what I put in my body, how I feel. I had stomach problems before, which is why I went vegan. I don't have those problems anymore. I feel good. Whatever makes you feel good, you should do. And I think that consciously I feel better because I'm making conscious decisions about what I eat.
Same.
And so you can relate to that, and I'm being more creative with what I eat. It's fun, it's exciting. I get a binge every once in a while. I'll go to vegan street fair and eat some inside out grilled cheese because that's fun and we're humans and we should live that way.
We're fun as humans. You should live your life. Eat fake cheese.
Right, and I don't fault anyone.
That doesn't taste like real cheese.
I don't fault anyone.
Why am I looking down?
I don't know. I don't fault it. Makers. I don't fault anyone for eating the way that they do. But if you feel good, then keep doing you. If you don't,
we're like opposites. Like, I feel better when I don't eat a lot of carbs. Carbs make me gassy, make me feel very bloated at night. They make me feel, and if I eat, now don't get me wrong, I feel the same way if I eat way too much meat, way too much salt, way too much sodium. But when I eat lean amounts of meat and I eat a high amount of vegetables, I typically feel like how you're saying you feel off of just eating carbs and beans and vegetables. So it's strange. Maybe I can get that if I cut maybe the next is just cutting the carbs out. But then if I cut cutting the protein out, but if I cut the meat proteins out, then literally I will be I'll be the limbo of us. I'll be eating just the vegetables.
I don't agree with that. I don't think you should cut out carbs completely.
Okay.
I think that depriving yourself is detrimental. I think that anyone that's trying to make a healthy switch to lose weight or whatever, you shouldn't go to an extreme. I don't believe that at all. I think that you need to keep it
Some
checked.
people would argue that not eating meat would be going to an extreme. But I'm not.
Up for debate.
So, while we can argue that humans aren't supposed to meat, some people believe that there's something about the way we've evolved that eating meat is a part of our equation.
Look at our teeth, bro. That
doesn't mean anything.
We're not carnivores, though.
That doesn't mean anything, though, at this point, because we've also evolved. No, here's the thing. What I'm trying to argue is that while it does, it means
evolution.
There's a lot, bro. There's a lot of about us that doesn't about our. Here's the thing where I have to argue with your argument on evolution. There's a point in human evolution where technology is supporting us on this grand God scale. If we didn't have technology, we'd be out there fucking in the cold. Like last night, it was 110 degrees at the Hollywood Bowl. If there were no cars and homes to go into and air conditioning, we would just be out there suffering. And so the way we even grow hair is differently now because we have all these support. We have clothes that we wear. That really does change things. The way way you eat.
I get what you're saying.
So I guess it's not all about by just looking at our teeth because we've changed our genetic. I think we haven't changed our genetic code.
So you have a machine that chews meat for you, or what?
No, we have teeth that chew meat for us.
Right.
And here's the thing.
Which are not made for that.
Not completely true. So you're saying that every animal that eats meat just swallows the meat whole?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that animals, carnivores that eat meat have teeth, incisors,
fish fucking
molars.
Eat fish. They swallow fish whole, and some of them
they
don't even have.
You're trying to compare us to fish?
If we want to go by evolution standards, which I don't completely believe the entire scope of necessarily, the idea is that we all crawled out of the goddamn ocean. So as we all started as some type of form of fish, so we've all been eating each other since the beginning. If we go back to the state of life, the current, if we go back to this, the ultimate state of this life on this planet is raw and dark and cannibalistic. Because if we all came out of the ocean, we were all fish, we were all eating each other from the get-go. Just saying. It's the reason why my buddy Brad doesn't believe in creationism because he believes that no God could be as ruthless as to watch creatures crawl out of the ocean and evolve and die and try to kill each other. Now me, I go, that's if we get to a spiritual that's nothing to a God. He would just see it as he would see that transition as nothing. Right. We would see that transition as pain. That would just be part of getting from point A to point B. There's no point from a scientist looking at a petri dish and watching something grow.
Right.
the scientist doesn't see any pain in the growth of the goddamn.
So what you're trying to say is that us getting to where we're at, and physically, and on like a very
I think if you took us back to square one, we were all out surviving, and we would not find enough goddamn vegetables to survive on, or even carbs if we weren't farmers. So meat would definitely be a part of the equation, and I think that's where the balance is that we would still need that. We would, as much as we say we don't need it, I think we need certain things because we put ourselves in a comfortable situation to actually decide what we decide to eat.
Yeah.
And we've actually in a comfortable situation where that's also our problem because in that comfortable situation we have too many choices. We can say I want to eat meat 6 times a day. There's no reason you should eat that. You should do that. There's no reason you should eat 8 loaves of bread a day.
Right.
There really is I really do think there's a balance.
So we have more choices. I think I understand what you're saying now.
If I was on sun, do you think I could find enough berries to sustain myself on calories throughout an entire day if I was just in the woods? Do you think I could find enough fruit? Do you think I could find enough vegetables?
Bro, we're hunters and gatherers, right? Like we hunted, right? We hunted, right?
Right.
Okay, we did eat meat.
What made us decide to start killing meat if we weren't meant to do it? Because I don't see herbivores do that. I don't see herbivores say, hey, today I'm going to switch up. I'm really starving. I'm going to kill this goddamn wolf over here and eat it.
I mean, that's getting into the whole evolutionary cycle of things. I think that we ran how many miles do you think we ran a day?
Okay.
As a hunter and gatherer.
Absolutely, that's
and we needed the protein to sustain that performance.
Okay.
Okay.
I agree with that.
We needed to work for our food, and you're right. To counterbalance your argument, I think we don't need to work for our food as much, and so we can afford to get our protein and our nutrients through other ways and not have to kill an animal to get it.
And I don't think it hurts to see what I'm trying to argue is that if we were able to control our industry and our meat industry, we could control how much meat we consume and we could have meat. And it is not wrong to kill. Everything on this planet is in a constant state of killing to survive. Even the plants that we kill, that's a strange thing that we've got to this point of not realizing that we do kill plants. Plants do die. Right. They are living sources.
Yes, they are.
We think of things because it has a brain and it has a thought process.
I agree.
It has to die for us to consume it or to go through, and that's the process. That's the
here's the thing: we can manipulate the growth of plants. We can manipulate the growth of animals.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is,
we don't have to eat the animals.
Well, the amount of pressure that we put on animals has affected the way that our environment reacts and responds and continues to move throughout time. Like whether or not you believe in global climate change. I'm not going to call it warming because it's more than that. It's not global warming, it's global climate change, right? Like, the fact that we have affected things in a way that, and it's more than just eating animals, right? It's the way that we use our energy, we produce energy, we transport ourselves. I think that if you look at the facts, and if there's a documentary that can help illustrate this to you, whether it be What the Health Is, I do give it, so there are certain things that are dramatized with that film, with any documentary, but what I will give it is that it does show the scale to which eating animals affects our environment, and how we can reduce the effects by not eating animals in the way that we do. And here's the thing, if the government, I'm not a conspiracist, but if the government wasn't such a huge proponent of meat consumption or animal consumption, like dairy, cheese, egg, then I wouldn't be so skeptical. But the facts are there, right? I'm a huge skeptic of the way in which the government supports all of that consumption because it does profit them. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? And so just the same way that the prohibition happened, right? Like the government will bend to what suits them, what funds them, what best situates them in our lives. And I think that just the way that we see like the wheat industry like transforming, right? Like with California, like we're more progressive with like Colorado, Oregon, Washington, right? But like, let's look at this from, you know, a very like outside perspective. I mean, it's interesting the way that government has softened its take on weed consumption and production because it benefits them, right? That's clear, right?
That's true.
The fact is they're getting taxes from all of the legal consumption and production of weed. And had that not been the case, you know, we don't know what it would be if they didn't get rid of it, right? But like, the fact of the matter is, they see the upside of it. It's a business. The government is a business that needs to make money, right? If they didn't have that consumption, production relationship, would it be where it's at today? And I think that the same goes with meat, dairy industry, egg industry, all that stuff, right? I think that corn,
people
grains,
all around the world though eat protein.
They do, but we're looking at it from a U.S. perspective. That's very cultural. If we're going to get into other cultures, we should talk about that. But like I think in the U.S., our government operates in a way that's very self-sufficient, very self-serving, and it okay, they can argue that it benefits the betterment of the people, but in the end, the reason why government is on board with marijuana production and consumption is because they get a cut of it, and because it benefits them, right? And so you see this though. You see this through time. It's nothing new.
Right.
You see that government benefits from the subsidization of certain commodities, whether it's corn, whether it's milk, dairy, and they back that because it supports them. It's a business, right? So I just think that the reason why I'm a little bit skeptical, and we'll wrap this up right now, but like the reason why I'm a little bit skeptical is because, you know, regardless of like personal opinions or not, the government's at play, and I'm a part of that overall picture, right? I'm a part of the American society, right? The things that I'm funding might not be going to the things that I have complete value or interest in, and so I think that the government operates the way it operates, and I question the validity to the extent of which they fund certain projects over the other and certain agendas over the other. So I'm not a theorist. I'm not a conspiracy person. I just think that it's ignorant to ignore the government's role in it.
Not ignorant to that. I get it.
Yeah. So that's all to say that I think that it's a personal choice no matter what you eat, and I just think that personally, I look at the bigger picture, and I think that, you know, I'm from a business perspective, and I think that if the government wants to profit from something, then they'll push that agenda, and it's up to us to decide our own stance on one thing or another, and we can influence agendas based on demand, like it's supply demand, you know what I mean? Like companies experience that all the time. But maybe that's too far down the rabbit hole.
No, it's something to go into. I actually think it was a good conversation overall, and I do get your side of it, and there's probably more that I could just continue to argue about it. But from this standpoint, I get it, and it does make some sense at the same time. The way government plays into a lot of the things we do in the society. Like, I mean, we probably, if we wanted to take a stand, we could, you know, wear the clothes that we wear, the shoes that we wear. I mean, I get it.
Sure.
But, you know, you take your stance on the things that you feel most passionate about. So
For all I know, this shirt was made in fucking India, and there was like a sweatshop out there that's making it, right? I don't know, but
no good. You like I said, we all try to affect changes where we can. So, and that's what I'm saying is I try to eat less meat because in part of me because I still love meat. Maybe I should start killing my own, food. Maybe I should find my own rabbits and all that stuff. But like until I get to the point where I have my own backyard and I can grow my own vegetables and I can do all those kind of things, I'm still at the point I'm still at the mercy of going to the store and buying things now. And at the point I have a choice to how much of it I buy. And that's at least is what I've tried to curb. I have a choice to not buy. I at a point where I've gotten a lot healthier. I used to buy alcohol a lot more than I do now. Even though you guys see us, every time you see us we're drinking, that's because it's a TV show. And every time you see a TV show, we're going to be drinking it. That's part of the show. Mm-hmm. But I do think that curbing appetites on sugar, all these different things can affect us in a positive way. So I agree with that. But I think we've kind of run over our time. There's probably some other things we wanted to address. Maybe we'll get to them on our next episode. We're going to go over some music and some hip hop. But this has been a good episode, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the Gentleman Geek. We will try to stay as gentleman as possible while still geeking out. If you guys have ideas for topics that you want us to cover, please let us know. Are we not being geeky enough? Or are we not being gentleman enough? But next time on the Gentleman Geek, tune in. Thanks. Follow us.